He tried to organise some kind of festivities on the Saturday in the afternoon. So Mr. Gary Jelly came up with the idea of playing golf. Right?
Tough Edmund would like that. Tough Edmund would like that.
Gary was driving one car, Tapp was driving another, and I rode with Twiggy Cornish. Right, well, they dropped the green flag outside the crew hotel about 1 o'clock. And Twiggy and I were last seen heading west. And Taff and Gary are gone. So we called that the Crew Grand Prix of 2008. So the winning driver was Gary Jelly. Alright. And Taff came second.
Thank you very much indeed.
Twiggy Cornish did actually come third, but because he didn't finish, he doesn't actually get a podium position.
Anyway, he's a man, isn't he?
So, yeah.
He's actually still complaining about it, I believe.
He's still complaining to this day about it. I've only got one other. There's one other story I got to tell, and it goes back to. This concerns you, actually. You can cast your, I'm sure you were the cocks of the boat. You cast your mind back to Mombasa. You were in there, I think it was the first cock and ass party that the wardroom put on. You were the seaboat driver, and I was his bowman. And he spent all day teaching me how to do all the goofy stuff with the boat hook and everything. And the proper protocol. Well, we get there, and we done a few trips backwards and forwards ashore, and then we went over to the Acheron, the submarine, and picked up the skipper. And all day he'd been telling me, and correct me if I'm right, if you get hailed, if you got the skipper on board, you give the name of the ship rank. And we'd gone through this all day, and he kept saying to me, make sure you get it right, you've got to get it right. I said, okay. So we're coming back to the Troubridge, we get right up by the quarterdeck, and they shout out, you know, boat ahoy, and I said, aye, aye. And he said, Acheron, cunt. That is the true story. That's pretty much all I got to say right now. I'd like to call on Jeremy to say a few words.
Yeah.
Firstly, I would like to, and as a reunion for Troubridge Virgin, I'd like to thank you, and Jim particularly, for bringing us all together. There are various other Troubridge reunion virgins here tonight, and they might have appeared like I did with a certain amount of hesitation. We've all had and are having a thoroughly good time. And it's down to If you'd asked me 40 years ago if I thought I'd be attending a reunion for a ship that was built in the year I was born, built as a destroyer that could do 34 knots and weighed only 1,700 tons, and was converted into a frigate in 1957, and they added on 500 tons then and reduced the top speed by about 6 knots. I just wouldn't have believed it possible, but here we are. And I look back on my 2 years in Troubridge as some of the happiest times. It was the most wonderful deployment world cruise, as far as I'm concerned. I just got married in July of 1966. A few weeks later, flew out to Nairobi, caught that train, which is one of the world's train journeys from Nairobi down to Mombasa, got into Her Majesty's ship Gurkha, and was delivered to Troubridge, who at the time was on Barra patrol. And we then went back to Mombasa, picked up some others, I gather, at the same time, and came home through the Suez Canal, via Malta, via Gibraltar, to Portsmouth and Chatham. And what I remember most about that bit was as we passed the St Elmo light on the way out of Malta, we were already doing 28 knots. Nick Hunt rang on 28 knots as we passed BD Hospital, which is where his wife worked, and we rang off as we got south of Europa Point, and we rang on again, and it went like that all the way home. And we then went into Bottom and dried off. Because this is all about reminiscences, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Things you remember. And you all remember loads of runs ashore. I remember other bits, I think most of them at sea. Because in that world cruise, my wife was with me most of the time. So my ability to get up to antics ashore were
restrained.
Nature. So the bits I recall are the seagoing bits. And we were talking earlier. I remember mail delivered in burst into the sea. I remember flight kind of competitions.
Once you get materials
I was given the task of judging the winner. Because people thought I could measure the angle of dangle and therefore get the height. Well, that's true, you can, but what you can't do is tell how far away the kite's gone, so that's a bit of poetic license. But those were ways we spent time on Byron Patrol, which I remember. Yes. We went back to combating, then mercy, something nasty happened in the engine room, and we had to go to Singapore.
We did, yeah.
But it was going to be Karachi for quite a long time. Did you know that?
No.
It's number one, didn't you? And what you didn't know is that we went via Gan, didn't we?
Yeah.
And if Mick Parsons had been here tonight, I would have thanked him hugely for enabling me to find Gan. Because what none of you realised was as we approached the island, we were actually going west.
That's the other way.
Indeed, we went past it. We got past it. It was very gloomy. And he was on the FM something or other, medium frequency direction finder, and he said, Gans over the left. So we turned around.
Thank God for the CC service.
And we got to Singapore, which was good, and Hong Kong, and down round Australia. There was one event I mentioned from an early visit to Mombasa. Some of us, and Bryan, Kosh, or wherever he is, was part of it, went on a safari to
Sava.
Ah,
And they get caught up in some trouble up there.
No. No, we saw rhino and got very close to a charging white rhino, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we got to a herd of elephants. And there's a fat chap called Koshal who wanted to stand outside the van and take a photograph of this elephant. And the bull elephant wanted to protect his herd. And he came charging towards us. I think you got into the van just in time. Clearly you did.
He was on the move.
He was on the move. You didn't do your answer. Well, we had the closest point of approach, a CPA of about 100 yards.
Was it a Ganges elephant?
He had his head down, his ears were out, and he was talking. I don't know about you, but I've got a fantastic photograph.
Yes, I have too.
Of that elephant.
Strange erotic smell.
Anyway, we eventually got home and I left, and my wife produced a baby shortly afterwards. I would like to finish by proposing a toast that people can't be here, if I may.
Please.
Would that be all right, Bryan?
Perfect, please.
Because there are loads of people we'd like to be in touch with who can't be here. There are those who've died who we would like to remember. And I didn't know you knew Richard Thomas as Black Taff.
Yeah.
You didn't?
No. Did you know his last job, and he died in it, was Black Rod?
No. No, I didn't know that.
So, if I may, can we drink to absent friends?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're honoured.
Absent friends.
Absent friend.
And happy birthday to